Welcome to Spotlights, Officer Elections. Today, we'll be looking at the process for the election of officers. We'll cover all the resources you have to make yourself successful, do a quick overview, and learn about what it takes to be eligible to serve. Then we'll talk about the when and how of the election, and move into step-by-step instructions so you know exactly what to expect and how to handle the entire process. We'll cover a few frequently asked questions and close reminding you of the many resources we have to help. The bylaws will provide the basic, essential information about the election of officers. If you don't have a copy, ask your parliamentarian, or you can request a copy from Texas PTA on the website texaspta.org under Governance. When you request your bylaws from Texas PTA, if you have standing rules, those will be sent as well. The Texas PTA Parliamentarian Resource Guide covers procedures for voting in the voting section and has a sample Tellers Committee report. The Texas PTA President Resource Guide has an election section and a wonderful Bill to Script section that has exact wording that you can copy and paste into your election script. Your parliamentarian is there for any assistance you may need. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. And last, but certainly not least, the Texas PTA website has a designated page with information on nominations and elections at texaspta.org/nominations-elections. Bylaws are your manual for most rules related to the rights of the membership and how the executive board should function. Article 10, Section 1, Composition, will tell you what roles make up your executive board. For the purposes of this training, we'll focus on A. It tells you what officers your PTA will need to elect. The positions listed in A are the only positions that are elected. There are some options, like whether or not to have a president-elect and how many vice presidents. So you'll want to check your bylaws as you prepare for your election. Remember, if you have a president-elect, you won't be electing a president because the current president-elect will automatically become the president. You'll be electing a president-elect. You can find the month that you need to conduct the elections in two sections of the bylaws. Article 8, Membership Meetings, tells you what month you must conduct the election, and Article 9, Nominations and Elections, Section 3, Elections, tells you again what month you must conduct the election and allows for the option of using acclamation if there is only one nominee for a position. Let's dig a little deeper. We're going to go step by step through the election. This item will be on the agenda under Special Orders, which is after reports and before unfinished business. 1. The President will ask the parliamentarian to read the relevant parts of the bylaws, which would be Article 9, Section 3. 2. The President will appoint a Tellers Committee. You appoint 3 to 5 members, depending on how big your audience is. They will need to be people who can be viewed as impartial, or if that's not possible, then members who represent all sides of an election. Their duties are to distribute, collect, and count any ballot votes, and complete and read the Tellers Committee report. We'll get to those duties in a few minutes. Keep in mind that you want to make sure you always prepare for a ballot vote, which means have something to use as ballots, pens and pencils, and copies of the report. Once the Tellers Committee is appointed, the President will ask the chair of the nominating committee to read the slate of officers. Remember, this slate was posted at least 7 days before the election for local campus PTAs, or 15 days before the election for councils. The committee chair will hand the signed original report to the president, and the president will thank the nominating committee for their work and will read the slate again. 4. Now it's time for the president to open the floor for nominations. You conduct elections in the order in which the officers are listed in the bylaws. President, president-elect, if you have one, vice presidents in order, first, second, third, and so on, secretary, and last but certainly not least, treasurer. The president will say, "The chair will now open the floor for nominations. Nominee A has been nominated for president. The floor is now open for nominations for president." Members can nominate themselves, or they can be nominated by another member. If they are nominated by another member, the president will want to make sure that they accept the nomination. If they are there, you can ask them. Or if they are not there, ask the nominator to confirm that they asked them. The president should continue to call on people who have their hand raised. 5. Once all nominations have been submitted, the president will close the nominations. This is where the process will differ depending upon which of the 3 possibilities you have. First, let's discuss if you have someone run from the floor. 6A, the president will allow each candidate 2 minutes to share why they should be chosen to serve as this officer. The candidate nominated by the nominating committee goes first. The nominating committee, preferably the chair, should be prepared to speak to this candidate's qualifications. Then the candidate or candidates nominated from the floor speak to their qualifications. This can be done by the person who nominated them or the nominee themselves. While they do that, the tellers should be handing out ballots to all the members. 7A. Now it's time for members to vote. You'll ask members to write down the candidate of their choice. Remind them to write legibly so their vote counts. You can use blank cut-up pieces of paper for ballots, index cards, printed ballots like above, whatever works for your PTA, but all votes must be cast on your ballots. You cannot accept other pieces of paper with votes on them. While members are voting, you can continue with other business or announcements by saying, "If there are no objections, we will continue with announcements while the tellers count the votes." However, you cannot start the election of the next officer because whoever is not elected in the ongoing election may want to run for that position. So you'll need to finish this one before starting the next. 8A, the tellers will collect, count, and read the report. The tellers committee report states the number of votes cast, number necessary to elect. Elections of officers requires a majority of members present and voting to win. The number of ballots determined illegal. Illegal votes are ones that the tellers are unable to read, have more names on the ballot than directed, have names on the ballot who have not been nominated, or if there are 2 or more ballots folded together. And it will have a number of votes cast for each person. Once the report is signed, one teller will read the report of the members. They do not declare the winners, just simply read and report and hand it to the president. 9A, the president will take the report and read it again. This vote requires a majority of those members present and voting to be elected, so you may have to do more than one ballot. Let's pause for a minute and talk about majority. Majority is more than half. It is not half plus 1. While half plus 1 works for even numbers, it doesn't work for odd numbers. See the example above. Half of 15 is 7.5. More than half would be 8 votes. Half plus 1 would be 8.5. There is no half a vote. Make sure you remember more than half and you'll be good to go. If there is a majority, you announce that the candidate with the majority vote is elected. If there's not a majority, then you would hand out another ballot and vote again. In PTA, we don't take any names off the ballot. This means if there were 3 candidates, we wouldn't remove the lowest vote getter before voting again. Only candidates can remove themselves from the ballot. Some may do that when they see that they're not one of the top vote getters, but we do not remove them automatically. You will continue to have the membership vote until a candidate receives a majority. After a couple of ballots, you may want to have the candidates speak to their qualifications again. Another option is to ask the candidates the same question about their role and give them each 1 minute to answer. These 2 options may help the members in their voting. Once voting is complete and a candidate elected, the president should give the report or reports to the secretary, as these votes all need to be recorded in the minutes. 10A, you'll need to have a motion to destroy the ballots. This can come from the tellers committee, or you can ask the members for a motion to destroy the ballots. You'll do a quick voice vote. Once you have the motion, ask for a second, ask for discussion. All in favor say aye, all opposed say no. You're done. That's the tough one. Now let's look at possibility number 2. 6B. So in possibility number 2, you have a candidate nominated from the nominating committee and no candidates from the floor, meaning only one candidate. In this case, the election can be done by acclamation. That means the president can declare them elected, since an actual vote would have the same outcome, so no actual vote is needed. The president would say, there being only one nominee, I declare nominee's name elected. 6C. In possibility number 3, the nominating committee left the position open and didn't nominate anyone. And no one runs from the floor, meaning you have no candidates. In this case, you would leave the position open and move on to the next officer. The newly elected officers will have the responsibility to fill the open position. Once you've completed the elections for all the officers, you'll want to have the newly elected officers stand to be recognized, and members encouraged to contact them if they are interested in assisting with the PTA. Some good optional ideas, if time permits, are the newly elected president could speak to the members to get them excited and ready for next year. An installation of officers is an optional, formal swearing in of the officers. This can be done by the current president, but more typically, a council leader or Texas PTA field service representative is asked to conduct the ceremony. This can be done at the election meeting, but more often is done at the following PTA meeting, if there is one. This ceremony is not required for the new officers to take office at the end of the fiscal year. Officer election frequently asked questions. What if there's no quorum at the election meeting? No business can take place without quorum. If you don't know what your quorum is, check your bylaws. The most common number is 10, which is also the minimum allowed by Texas PTA. It is possible to recess or complete non-business items, like announcements, while members are contacted to come to the meeting. Otherwise, the meeting would need to be rescheduled at a time when quorum could be attained. What if someone is nominated for more than one position? The individual can be nominated for multiple positions from the floor and could even be elected to more than one position. This doesn't happen that often, as we wait for each election to be completed before moving on to the next. So the chances of them being elected to two is slim to none. Should it happen that they are elected to two positions, they can only accept one position, and you would run a new election for the position they didn't choose. What if the president is one of the nominees? Nothing changes. While it may feel a bit awkward, the president still conducts the election. What if there's a tie between two candidates? Well, you would need to vote again until one of the candidates gets a majority of the vote. Remember, you can have them speak to their qualifications again or ask them the same question regarding their role to help members make their decision. What if an officer resigns after the election, but before they take office? The newly elected officers fill any vacant positions. Remember your resources, and you can always come back and watch this video again. Don't forget that the President's Guide has that Build-A-Script section that you can copy and paste the exact words you need to run the election into your script for this meeting. Simply look for the Election of Officers section in the script. It's an excellent tool that can take a lot of stress and uncertainty away and make this process simple and smooth for the President. And don't forget your parliamentarian. They are there for any assistance you may need. Don't hesitate to reach out to them. Thank you for watching Spotlights, Officer Elections. If you have any questions, please reach out to your council PTA leaders, if you're in a council, or your Texas PTA Field Service representative.